So I'm the Western Washington Regional Coordinator for Freshmen in Schools. And today I'm going to be talking just a little bit about our project and activities that we do to help bring farms into cafeterias, some simple ways that school districts can get started, and some resources that you might be interested in. So the Fresh Food in Schools program is a 3-year grant. And as Ellen mentioned earlier, we're just about at the end of our grant cycle. So in the end of September, our grant will end. We work with 20 school districts across the state. And our main goals are to bring fresh fruits and vegetables, Washington-grown fruits and vegetables, to students by helping schools increase their purchase of Washington-grown produce and by increasing the number of farms that sell directly to those school districts. And we do this in a variety of ways. You guys have heard a bit today about Taste Washington and Harvest of the Month, and I'm going to talk in a little bit more detail about those things. Can I see a show of hands who has done a Taste Washington event in their school district? Great, wonderful. Who is representing a school district and has not done a Taste Washington event? Anybody? Okay, wonderful. So there's a lot of resources in this room if this is something that you would be interested in doing. So Taste Washington is essentially an annual lunch that features Washington-grown foods. And it's put on, well, it's not put on, but it's a collaboration between the Washington State Department of Agriculture and the Washington School Nutrition Association. And usually the date is set for late in September because that's when in Washington we have just a glut of wonderful produce. It's a really wide variety of different items to choose from to put on a school menu. But you can do it anytime you want. You don't have to do it in September. This is one of those things that you can say, I'm having a Taste Washington event and I'm going to do it in October or November. Some school districts do find it a little bit challenging starting school at the beginning of September and then jumping into an event pretty soon after the start of the school year. So you can do it whenever you want, but the point is to help kids understand where their food comes from and start to develop that connection and learn about the food system in their state a little bit more. And develop some pride in it as well. So this is, you guys saw some pictures earlier of Molly Langdon at the Lake Stevens School District. And this is her Taste Washington event this year at one of the elementary schools in the Lake Stevens School District. So you can see that they use the Taste Washington map. So this is something that we use quite frequently when we're doing education in cafeterias is signage. And this is one of the big things that we did this year as we provided each of our school districts with these large Taste Washington maps. And from that, we can customize it and put all the produce items, little signs for each produce item on there and arrows pointing to where they were grown. And some folks, like Molly, who are really dedicated, will actually go out to the farms and take pictures and do sort of like a little farm bio and put that on there as well, so that the kids are really seeing where their food is coming from, even the farmer who grew their food, if perhaps that farmer can't come to lunch that day. This particular day, they did have the farmer from Carlton Farms come out for the day as well, which is also a really wonderful teaching tool to have in your back pocket. If the farmer can come to lunch, it's wonderful. The kids can talk firsthand to the farmer about how the produce grows. And so what Molly did for Taste Washington Day was she featured Washington-grown produce on the salad bar. So she had pluots, she had apples, she had cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, and she also did she used apples and wheat from Eastern Washington in her apple cinnamon harvest square, so in her dessert. But the whole meal was not Washington grown, but she featured it on her salad bar. So the point of Taste Washington Day is not necessarily to do an entire meal of Washington grown foods, although that's wonderful. But even if you're just featuring one item or just the salad bar as featuring Washington grown, it's a really good way to get started. So they bring in Future Farmers of America students from the local high school. And those students wash the produce that comes in from the farms, and then they take it out on trolleys into the cafeteria and help serve it to the students. So it's a really nice way to introduce students to some new and interesting fruits and vegetables. So like they had dragon tongue beans and lemon cucumbers and those sorts of things that are exciting and weird and maybe challenging for kids to try. And the Future Farmers of America students, being high school students and kind of mentors, really helped get the kids interested and excited and willing to try. Excuse me, willing to try those new things. So the next thing that we do often in cafeterias to bring the farm into the cafeteria is something called Harvest of the Month. And again, can I see how many folks have done a Harvest of the Month or Harvest of the Season? So most of you are pretty familiar with this already. Anybody here from a school district that hasn't done it or would like to do it? Okay, so a few folks. So some of this information is not going to be real new to a lot of you, but so this can be a monthly or a seasonal event. When I'm working with a school district that's interested in starting Harvest of the Month but hesitant, I'll suggest that they choose a seasonal fruit or vegetable and just highlight it for the season. And that could be just at one lunch for one event, or it could be purchasing that fruit or vegetable and highlighting it in the cafeteria for the whole winter season or the whole spring season. And that's a nice way to get started. And in the winter, right now, people can sometimes find it challenging to find fruits and vegetables that are in season. But there are grains and legumes and some other storage vegetables, potatoes and onions and apples that also are available this time of year that you can work with. Something that is a really nice complement to a Harvest of the Month or a Harvest of the Season event is putting up some signage in your cafeteria. And so some of you may be familiar with some of this signage, but on the, I'm right, left challenged. On the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see the Whatcom Farm to School calendar. So thanks for loaning that to us, Marty. And at the top here, you'll see this is signage developed for Seattle School District. And they have a whole set of signs that are pretty wonderful for different produce items. And so these are all things that you can use. You can develop your own calendar for the year if you're going to do a Harvest of the Month program. You can borrow signage from Whatcom or from Seattle School District. And I know that Wenatchee does a wonderful Harvest of the Month program. Do you want to say anything about how that's worked in your schools and things that have worked really well? Kent?
Yeah, Joan's been really helpful with that, Joan Causey, and she is, we sat down together and figured out what would be seasonal, and we used a lot of these materials and kind of came with our own format. And like we've done one this year of the sickle pears that were really unique to our area because they're an heirloom variety of pear. They're about that big and they taste like candy and they're really good. So we handed out whole sickle pears during lunch at 2 elementary schools. And we've done, last month we did roasted heirloom potatoes from Cloudview Eco Farm, and we're doing the same thing this month. We're going to do potatoes again because the kids just love them. And we're doing 2 elementaries out of 7, so it's not like overlapping. So what we do is we hit every school, every elementary school over the course of the school year, and then at the end of the school year, last year we started doing we do a round of elementary barbecues, and so we go to each barbecue, and family and friends and kids are all invited to the barbecue, and it's during lunch. And we did another Harvest of the Month promotion there with blueberries from Blueberry Hills Farm in Manson and Sunshine Farms spinach and baby mixed greens. And we tossed a little salad and had frozen blueberries, which were fantastic because the kids, they're fun to eat that way. And so we do this a lot, and it's really, really good. The kids love it.
Great, thank you so much. So if folks have questions about Harvest of the Month, can be a great resource for you. This is another example. So I work with Evergreen School District, which is in the Vancouver area. And we just this year purchased fruit and vegetable costumes to complement some of the events that we do and help schools to put on. And this was their very first Harvest of the Season event. And some students from the high school culinary program came and volunteered to wear the costumes and helped hand out incentives to kids that were trying the fruits and vegetables that were on the menu that day. So they were highlighting spinach. This was in December. It was spinach, potatoes, and pears. And they made this wonderful spinach spanakopita and had fresh pears and roasted potatoes. And we handed out stickers. I tried it stickers or little fruit and vegetable stickers, and it was a huge hit. The kids loved the high school students in the costumes, and they loved the stickers, and everybody was trying the fruits and vegetables, and the kids that brought their lunch were trying the food on the other kids' trays, so that they could taste it. So just really, inexpensive ways to kind of help kids want to try those things in the cafeteria. So a few simple ways to get started from our perspective. Choose an event and pilot it at a school. And if you're hesitant, say, we're going to do Taste Washington, or we're going to do a Harvest of the Month or Harvest of the Season at one school and just see how it goes. It's kind of a nice way to just dip your toes in the water. Just choose one vegetable to start, or fruit. And it's really easy to do in September, October, November, when there's a lot of variety. It can get a little bit more challenging in the winter, but there definitely are still things that you can use. So don't let that hold you back. Using signage, there are so many great models for signage out there, and the next page I will give you some resources for where you can find those. Costumes and incentives, not that expensive. I think our costumes range from like $30 a piece to, I think the strawberry was $100. That was the real spendy one, but and you can get them at Amazon.com. They're super easy to order and not too expensive, and pretty cool thing to have on hand. And the incentives, we usually use stickers, and I order them from, if I put that on the resources page, but stickers are available from LearningZoneExpress.com and MissionNutrition.com. So you may be aware of those already, but those are great sources for stickers, pencils, bookmarks, that sort of thing. Invite a farmer to lunch. This is probably one of the most simple things you can do, is if you're highlighting a fruit or vegetable and you're ordering it from a local farm, invite that farmer to come to lunch. And if you have the time and the energy to do it, let the media know. Let your local newspaper know, or even if you're a district paper, have them come, the district photographer come and take a picture and put it in the district paper. Get a little publicity for what you're doing. Talk yourself up. One of the more inventive things that I saw was one of the school districts I work with had their students, I can't remember which grade it was, I think it was their 5th grade class, they had them come up with a skit to complement, they were having potatoes that day, and the kids had gone to the farm and planted the potatoes, and then they went and dug them up later and brought them back to the cafeteria, and they had volunteers come in and help prepare them, and so they had roasted vegetables in the cafeteria that day, and the students did this wonderful skit in front of all their peers about potatoes, and it was hilarious and wonderful, and a really nice way, again, for that peer-to-peer interaction to happen. Another great thing to do with the kids is to have them make the signage. So if you know that you're going to highlight a certain fruit or vegetable, having students have a competition to develop signage for the cafeteria and put that up, and it's really a sense of pride, and it helps them really want to try those fruits and vegetables that they've been steeped in. And just a few quick resources before we move on to our next presentation. So to find out more about Taste Washington and a bunch of other stuff, school gardens and recipes and menu ideas, the Washington farmtoschool.org, lawfarmtoschool.org, is a really great resource. The Washington Grown Food Kit alone is, it's just wonderful. Harvest of the Month for signage and calendar ideas. Both Seattle and Whatcom have wonderful models. The Seattle link is ridiculous here, I'm sorry about that, but if you just search Seattle Harvest of the Month, even on Google, it'll come up, so that might be an easier way to do it. And then if you'd like to learn more about the Fresh Food in Schools program or contact me, you can go to the Washington Sustainable Food and Farming Network website, and my contact information is there, along with Ellen's contact information and Brian and Joan for the other regions. So feel free to contact any of us for more information.
So those of you I haven't met before, I am Shoko Kumagai with Washington State's Department of Agriculture. I have been fortunate to work closely with Kent School District in King County, as well as Seattle Public Schools, Highline School District, and now I'm adding Renton and Auburn School District to work together with Kent School District. So I would like to share some of the work that I have done so far with Kent School District, partially with Highline and Seattle schools. I think this panel is so timely now that the Farm to School is one of the criteria for Healthier U.S. School Challenge as an option. So I'm very excited that was added to that challenge. And I'd like to share the work I've done with those schools, specifically on taste testing and promotion and education. So just arrow click. Briefly, these are the things that Washington State's Department of Agriculture Farm to School team has done and have been doing with multiple grants before we got cut. But and I'm specifically working with schools on multiple grants based in King County. And we are developing some resources out of this work with the school district, and we really appreciate our partnership with schools, local farms, and other partners that we think that those networks really benefits and fills the gaps. So technical assistance is one of the things that I have worked with schools, and some of that is mostly education and promotion piece. With the Kent School District, we worked on the community putting prevention to work grants through Public Health Seattle King County, and we have built Farm to School program in the district from the grounds up. We started with assessment with students, staffs, put together a strategic plan, implemented, and evaluated. And as a culmination, we put together a Farm to School website under the Nutrition Services Department. And in that effort, we've had an opportunity to work with a high school student who works in that technical IT office, and then she did a wonderful job putting all that outlines and contents into a beautiful presentation on the website. So I highly recommend working with high school students and IT office in the district if you have those kind of opportunities. And also another combination specific for the WSDA side is making a Farm to School startup kit. It's basically, this is our toolkit website where you go to school food. Under the school food, there is a getting started page, and we have Farm to School startup kit. It's basically a PowerPoint slides, but it's a packet of resources that we developed through working with Kent School District. And then specifically, we are focusing on taste testing, so I just jumped to the step 8, which is planning, promotion, and education. One of the resources that you find in this packet is taste test in the classroom. This is sort of like a write-up of what I've done with the district in terms of taste testing in the classroom. We used fresh fruits and vegetable program as a pilot schools to test out a lot of farm to school food items, including many varieties of roots, many varieties of fruits, and that was also a part of the assessment to understand students' preference and what might work in the central kitchen to provide raw, fresh items that has never been cooked in the kitchen. So I brought 30 copies, hard copies of taste test in the classroom. It's in the on the table here. So if you'd like to have those, please take some. I mean, one with you, but you can access from our website as well. So
Can we pass those around?
just please. So briefly, Acacia described the Taste of Washington Day beautifully. So I just wanted to add to that, we have a list of calendar events that you might find it interesting to feature Farm to School, or find it opportunity as a feature of that. And then adding to those, National Farm to School Month and Taste of Washington Day, we now have International Meal Day, which is brand new thing. And I believe it's in March 8th. So that's another thing that we would like to add to this calendar. These are some examples that Taste Washington Day promotion and education is. On the right-hand side, this is, I believe, Lake Stevens salad bar featuring local produce. On the upper picture is a Seattle Public Schools Taste of Washington Day last year. The bottom one is the Highline School District, where we worked with Feast students to promote taste test variety of apples, as the apple was the Harvest of the Month item in September. So this is a sample. We used this poster to highlight Taste Washington Day last year, but also we made this handouts with same poster, but in the back we wanted to feature beans that day, local beans that day, so we included fun bean recipes. This one say oatmeal chocolate chip cookie with navy beans. So we hand out these sort of flyer / recipe card in the cafeteria, and then also the teachers' lounge to sort of promote some fun ways to use beans. And also bringing farmers to school cafeteria is one great thing that students really enjoy, as well as teachers. And upper top is Seattle Public Schools bringing cow to the class cafeteria / PE multi-purpose room. Bottom, you probably saw John Butler sitting in the back there. He visited one of the Kent School District schools to talk about his growing practice and have them taste test. His apples are students' favorite, and so they were really excited to see Farmer John there and learn about how he determines the sweetness, how he determines the time to harvest the apples. Some of the students also volunteered to try that apple picking bags. One of the 5th grade students figured it's a very, very heavy duty job. And then on the right side is a blueberry farmer from Riverview who also visited Kent School District, as they use a lot of blueberries from Nick. Another thing is October is a National Farm to School Month. You may heard the National Farm to School Network. They always, every year they feature October is National Farm to School Month, and then we try to promote as much as we could. So these posters is available online for download as well as for purchase, and I'll be happy to help you connect with the people there. But let me know if you're interested. I think this is a really allowable poster. And then they also have a website where you can share your stories, advertise your events on the events page. Just across the bottom over there, you can post any events to promote your events nationwide. And they're very good at picking up and then talking about it, tweeting, Facebooking for you too. A lot of the King County schools uses Seattle Public Schools National Harvest of the Month, Washington Grown Harvest of the Month poster, which is also available for purchase through Seattle Public Schools. And so I have worked using this and promoting this as well. But anything works for you guys is the way to go. So I really encourage you to go explore a lot of resources out there. Finally, I'm going into the taste testing in the classroom. I believe in the synergy effect. Wherever the opportunity is, menu back, posters, newsletters, just ask principal to announce in the morning, in most morning assemblies, anything, any opportunities to use, you can pitch to them what Harvest of the Month is, what are the produce that you want to promote, farm to school opportunities, if you want to introduce farmers through them, that's the way to go. So in Highline School District, last October when we featured Farm to School Month and Harvest of the Month item, which was cabbage, we introduced Asian Slow as a new recipe, and then students got to taste the district and surrounding areas. They be featured in the menu bag. We also made National Farm to School Month feature of this company brothers, and then posted in the cafeteria, and also posted onto the Harvest of the Month website. So we used fresh fruit and vegetable program, as I said earlier, to learn from students what produce may work with the students as well as in the kitchen, as Kent School District has a huge central kitchen and prepare all the meals at central kitchen level. The logistics of the taste testing was to use taste test slip that goes out with the produce of the snack of the day, along with the information sheet that we produce. Say this is fluids. We provide this slit along with the voting system. Send it to each classroom, and teachers can ask his or her classroom how many students tried it, how many liked it, how many would try it again. So it's a simple 3 questions that teachers can ask. Along with this flyer, they can just insert below their projector and show it, blow up over here, have several students read about it. So teachers really appreciated having that information when they introduce new items, especially from local farms. So that is the model that we really saw success, and also find it very easy for teachers to conduct during the class. And in the back of the printout, this packet, you can see the slips that I sent it to schools. You just print it out, cut it half, and then send it with your produce items in the class. And teachers can bring it back to the kitchen, and then the kitchen send it back to the central office, and then we just collate the results and figure it out which produce went well, which didn't. Of course, fresh fruits and vegetable program, you don't get to flavor anything, you don't usually cook so much. We did have some cooked items such as squash, winter squash, and beets. But mostly we provided as fresh, but it really helped us to understand how raw beets can be processed in the central kitchen, or it doesn't matter where it's central kitchen or out. It really helped us to pilot and figure out what works and not. So this is an example that each classroom gets bag of apples, and then the apple comes with this slip and then the information sheet. These are some examples of information sheet that is also available through Farm to School website in Kent School District. So we learned that students love the snack that we get, the fresh fruits and vegetable program. And then we found that some of the items can be expanded to the district-wide menu, which they serve 16,000 lunches per day. And students talk about what they had in school at home, and some request of produce that they had at home, also be available at home. So the other downside of it is that it really depends on teachers, classroom teachers, whether they are willing to participate in the state test or not. If they are busy, they might not be able to. But we found in the pilot schools, most of them are willing to try and at least give us some feedback. So, is the sugar harvest squash that John also carries for the farmer from Whidbey Island, and we baked it in the kitchen and packed it in their salad package. And so teachers and student helpers can scoop it into a little splash cup to have it as a snack. So another example of the education piece is Renton School District. They installed all the TV screens in the cafeteria through the CPPW grant. And then they worked with STECA students, leadership team, culinary art students to do the nutrition education piece through the screen. And now they are going into do the menu labeling through the screen. And then we are very excited to work with them to promote Farm to School in the screen. They are fortunate to have 4 screens in each high school, 2 screens in each middle school, and 1 screen in each elementary school. So we are very excited about the opportunity. Now lastly, we will have screening of the salad wars in the next session, but we had this unique partnership opportunity to work with OSDI, DOH, and also the Seattle Feast students to create the Safe Salad Bar guidelines, as well as peer education piece to promote healthy eating through salad bar, as well as the etiquette, peer education of the Safe Salad Bar, use of the Safe Salad Bar. So this is just the preview, and I'm not going to show it as we're going to have the screening next session, but this is an awesome peer education piece for the salad bar etiquette. So you can see it later, but this is just a cutoff. They would show you, do not do this in really hokey way. So look forward to watching it. And then this video and other resources are also available through our toolkit website, walkfarmtoschool.org. So please visit us and find the resources, or if you don't see any resources that you might be looking for, please contact us. We might be able to find a way to create one. Any burning questions? Thank you.
My full name is Joe Frederick Clark Linkenberg. So everybody just calls me LJ Clank. So if you see in the little thing where it says LJ Clinkenberg, well, it's kind of a fusion of what I go by and the name they gave me. So my job is, I'm a mobile chef is my official title, but I'm a consultant to schools into nutritional programs, and I work with people, I work with a couple people up here on the panel on how best to accomplish this task. This world that we live in with school nutrition is changing. dynamically, fast. We know what's coming down the pike in the next year or so, and we know we got to stay ahead of the curve. And there's a few things that when I look at the nutritional programs and I talk with the schools, what I'm looking for and the questions that are very important to the successfulness of how they take that road. A few things that I really always like to ask is how, why, and what. How are we going to do this? Why are we doing it? And what really are we trying to do? Are we trying just to make USDA standards? Are we just, is that our goal? Is that we're gonna feed the kids, stay financially sound, and just meet the standards? Or do we want to create, and which we are, and we are partially forced to, create a new culture and a changing of multiple cultures within our schools? And I'm not talking cultures as far as where people are from, but the culture of food and how food is related to what we do in our daily activities. That has changed immensely in the last 20 years. I can say that 20 plus years ago I was in high school, and I know that the food that I got wasn't the same as what's being served today. That is a good thing, though I can say that I always had great meals. But how we look at the meals is more important than exactly what it was. So how do we take something that was the most popular dish 20 years ago, that we had the participation that we want? Because we have to have the participation. We have to have the money coming in. There's no doubt to that. We want to incorporate all these features and different aspects of the world we live in. We want to bring fresh fruits and vegetables from local farms. We support our local farmers. We support ourselves with that money. I know from being from the restaurant business is my customers that came in every day or once a week or once a month, even the ones that came in just on holidays, those were the ones that made sure that my payments were being made. So we got to look at our students that same way. They're our customers. We no longer should look at it as a participation only, but how do we best service our customers? As being new to the school world, at least K through 12, I came in with a different look. I dealt with college students for years, and they have a whole nother way of looking at it, and it's developed from those K through 12 years. They come in looking at food from those years that we all have part of. So that comes back to why. Why do we want to change this? So let's pull out the fact of USDA standards. We have to meet those. There's no doubt about that. We have to make our nutritionals, and we have to stay in the black. So what's the underlining goal? Well, we want to feed our kids. We want them to be healthy. We want to change the way they look at food. How do they approach it? Why do they approach it the way they do? If they're going to be taking in X amount of calories, how are those calories being used outside of school? So we can go back and we could go over and over of all the different studies that we've read and we've heard, and there's amazing. It's, as this being my first one of these, I can say that I'm very impressed with the amount of knowledge and capabilities that everybody has. And I say that because as I travel around to schools, I think that is one of the biggest things that our lunch teachers, that our food directors either forget or ignore or don't want to highlight is the skills that they have, their abilities. Those abilities will change that culture. They will bring that level of the food to that participation level that you want. But it's not easy. And I can say with, I consider them all part of my team here. I'm actually part of their team because I kind of roam around and show up for a day or two a month at their schools. But I am always impressed at the abilities that are in those kitchens. Sometimes it's just not tapped. So if we can connect the dynamics of how we want to change the food culture, how we have to survive as an entity, as a business within the school. Because let's face it, if we're going backwards year after year after year. There's only so long before that changes, and it's usually not really good for us. So how do we approach that? And bringing everybody in that nutritional services, from your 2-hour person all the way up to your full-time cook and your managers, to be all on the same page. Very important, because it doesn't matter if there's half of your team that's willing to change that culture and to approach that, if the other half isn't. You're at a stalemate. So how do you develop that? The how, the why, and the what. A couple of things, and then I'm going to pass the mic over to Brian. Just a warning. So the how, partnerships, create partnerships. Fred from Shepherd's Grain back here. I'm going to pick on you a little bit, Fred. It was like 5, 6, maybe even 7 years ago. I went out and I got to tour Fred's farm, and I got to see what he was doing in Shepherd's Grain and how they were ahead of the curve. They were years prior to what we need now, which is amazing. And I hadn't seen Fred in years, and it still left an impression seeing that. That was a partnership that may not be as connected as if I'm buying directly from another farmer, that direct shake the hand. But you know what? I've got a partnership with somebody that I can call and ask the questions on grains. I've got a question that I can ask flowers and why it's important and how they're doing it and their sustainable farming practices. That's a partnership. Don't lose those 3rd and 4th and even 5th tier partnerships that you may not be involved with day to day or monthly. But by creating those partnerships and understanding how they develop and go along, you'll be able to get everybody on the same page. You'll be able to change that culture. Changing a culture and an attitude is not going to happen overnight. It just won't. And I know, I've seen it firsthand. I have cooks that are in tears over the fact that their stuff is getting thrown away. They put all their heart and soul into making this, yet it's in the trash. And it's disheartening. We know there's kids hungry. We know that there's people that could use that food. But we also have to recognize that this is a change. This is something that is going to foster. And I guarantee the schools that are doing the farm to school and doing the scratch cooking, their 1st and 2nd and 3rd graders, in 10 years, their lives are going to be exceptionally better for the good, for the best that we can offer. And for not recognizing the fact that that time at lunch, which through the years has been whittled down to not an acceptable amount of time to eat, in my opinion, but that was my soapbox for the moment. But how can we best serve them? Because it is a learning environment. And when we learn, we know that it changes our attitudes and our perceptions. That's how you're going to change the culture. And that's how you make each of your daily activities worth more than you're probably thinking those are. Because I see that daily where they're like, oh, I'm just making some more fresh baked bread. And I'm like, you know what? That loaf of bread that you're making there, in my restaurant, I sell for $8. So you're not doing anything different than the guys in the tall white hat than the people in your kitchens at your cafeterias. So thank you very much. And hopefully if you have any questions at the end, feel free to ask me. Now, Brian.
I'll probably start babbling, so if I do, just hit me. We started this about 2 years, well, it was 2 years ago with Jeanette and Othello, and we started at the same time. And it's been a pretty, a little bit of a bumpy road, but it's getting smoother now, and it's been fun, and it's had a lot of challenges. But 2 years ago when we started, it was sort of, for me it was just, I was excited for a change because I come from restaurants and managed restaurants for 15 years. And I was like, oh, yeah, change, yeah, woo, let's change, yeah, let's do it. So it was over the past 2 years, as I've read more and gotten more into whole food cooking and scratch cooking and the poisons of refined sugars and things like this, and added sugars and additives and preservatives and all these different products that we feed our kids, I've gotten more and more passionate about it. And it's really important, and that kind of has led me to the farm to school, applying for the grant and getting that and getting passionate about that. So we kind of went backwards on it. We started with scratch cooking, and now we're moving towards using local purveyors to make our food, and using, trying to build those relationships with local farms to supply our salad bars with locally procured foods. But where am I going with this? So it was a really interesting process watching kids, and even 2 years later, and I don't know how it's going in Othello, but I know even 2 years later, we still get comments and some negative pushback a little bit, but it gets less and less every month. And you're always going to have the kid who wants chocolate. Look, we were the evil school district that did away with all flavored milks. You can't have candy in our school district anymore. I mean, we pretty much, instead of tiptoeing into Lake Coeur d'Alene, have you ever been to Lake Coeur d'Alene? It's just freezing all year. It never warms up. And instead of kind of walking into the cold lake, we just jumped off into the deep end. You're a cannonball. So we pretty much did everything at once, just about. I think the first year we did scratch cooking, about 6 months into it, we were kind of like, let's just take everything away. And that may not have been the best process, but once we did it, I was like, well, we can't go back now because then we would lose. And I don't like to lose, so nobody gets candy. So we've kind of figured out ways to, that's part of being the guinea pig is you learn ways to do things in ways, the hard way to do things, the easier way to do things. But the teachers who do see the positive side of it, and the administrators who do see the positive side of it, it's really encouraging when you start hearing their stories, and you start hearing stories of, we had a 5th grade teacher at one of the schools, and during their cohort time, they were all together and they started talking about the changes from last year. And the one thing they all noticed was that none of their students were having a crash in the afternoon. We served, I made a lot of money for a school district a couple of years ago. And it was because if I could get my hands on it through commodities and I could shove it down the kids' throats, that's what I did. And I didn't care if it was canned peaches, chicken nuggets on top of breaded chicken, with processed cheese, between 2 pieces of commodity bread. I was going to shove it down their throat because that was the most, affordable way for me to do my job. And my job looked good if I made money for the district. So it's been financially, it's kind of flipped around a little bit, and we're working our way back to being in the, revenue neutral or somewhat positive. But it's now it's more trying to figure out how to get these kids the best. And what is more important, is making $1 for the district more important than kids having. We have kids who have red dye allergy. What was a red dye? What? You didn't have red dye allergies when I was a kid growing up. I didn't know anybody who had a red dye allergy or peanut allergies. If there's a kid who had a peanut allergy, it's like 1 in a million. Nobody had peanut allergies when I was growing up. Or, I don't know, some of the other weird, you get really weird allergies. You had a peanut allergy when you were growing up? Oh, you had a question? Okay.
I just wondered, if you had it to do over again, how would you go about making the kinds of changes you've been making?
I would, the first thing I would have done differently is I would have communicated it first. We really were behind so Empire Health came in and said, do you want to do this? They came and talked to us and said, would you be interested? And I said, yeah, sure, that sounds awesome. And they came back and said, will you do this? And we had about 6 weeks to get ready, I think, before the school year. And so it was just this whirlwind of, and I operate better under pressure, I think, than not under pressure, and that's just my years of being in restaurants. So if I had to do it over again, I would have definitely used some time to educate and get staff on board, because we just kind of did it. And then we went back and started getting teachers and administrators and kids on board. And it was funny, once I started talking to kids, and I felt bad. I mean, I went around on like an apology tour through the middle schools, because these kids were just like, you know, felt disrespected. They said, you didn't even ask us our opinion or what we wanted. And at first I was like, you little son of a, you're 12, you shut up. And then I thought, you know what, no, this is a part of growing up and becoming an adult. And I should have asked their opinion, and I should have educated them and told them what I was going to do. And I didn't. So I kind of went on this little apology, hey, I'm sorry I didn't ask your opinion, you know, yeah. And that's part of treating them as our customers, you know, and giving them that respect of being our customers, because they do have a choice. They can go home and say, Mom, I don't want to eat the food because I don't really like it, regardless of whether they, you know, if they get a negative opinion, then it kind of starts affecting it. So we were behind the ball a little bit on a lot of things, and I guess part of my rambling back to what you're saying is I would have communicated it better. But at the end of the day, it's a big enough change that, you know, farm to school is a cool change, and that's using local farmers and you know, getting all these great fresh ingredients that are local. And but when you start doing scrabbling, you take the sugar out and you take the candy out, and these kids are like, that's not cool, man. Like you just took my chocolate cookie away, and so it's more of a you have to be in front of the issue, I think, more, and making it into a positive thing. So now me and Laura go around and talk about in classes and for different teachers about what these kids are putting into their bodies. And a lot of times, you know, I remember I was talking to a junior high class, and I was telling them about how chicken nuggets are made. They didn't believe me. I said, well, you guys don't believe me. And a word I said, the best advice I ever got from a college professor was never believe anything you read or hear. Go and research. So I said, go and look it up. And they caught me like a week later in the school. I don't know if you've ever seen these pictures, but they basically take everything the chicken is made of and they grind it up into this, I don't know, goo. And then it won't, I mean, beaks, feathers, everything, bones, the whole 9 yards, whatever. So, and then they grind it up, but it's so disgusting it won't stay together on its own. So then they have to throw this glue into it, like this food glue, and it turns it pink. Oh, and before they do that, they blast it with ammonia to clean it because it's disgusting. And then and then it comes out of this machine in this big, huge pink, like looks like a big yogurt machine, frozen strawberry yogurt machine. Anyway, they didn't believe me, so they went home and looked it up. Mr. Levy, we're so sorry. Thank you so much for not feeding us chicken nuggets anymore. That was so gross. So that was the other thing. Once we started educating them and talking to these kids about what they're putting in their bodies, they get fascinated by it just like we do, and they get passionate about it too. So I guess that's my spiel. It's gotten much better now that we've done those things and done the education piece. And we were talking about on our drive over that the biggest thing of tying all this together, the biggest piece of it is, and someone spoke to it next door, I think, in the opening remarks, is that you can't do it unless it's a top to down, top to bottom approach. I mean, everybody has to be involved. From the night janitor to the front reception person. I mean, everybody has to be on board and speaking about what we're doing in a positive manner, whether it's scratch cooking or farm to school or whatever you're doing. They've all got to be on board. And I think we're probably about 80% right now. 75. But there's 20% that we still got to, convince them that what we're doing is the right thing. And I believe we're doing the right thing. Anyway.
So my role in Cheney is I'm the wellness coordinator, and so Brian comes up with these great ideas, and then I get to figure out how we're going to get everyone to buy into it, pretty much. So, but it's actually a wonderful challenge to have, and everything Brian said is true. It's an incredible change. you know, where you can't take the tater tots away and take the chocolate milk away that kids today are so used to eating. And not expect some sort of pushback. And not just pushback from the kids, but we've received pushback from the parents, pushback from staff, pushback from every level that you can imagine, which some of it was pretty shocking to us at what level you do get that pushback. But I think at the end of the day, you know, we look at each other, and with the kitchen staff, they're all very supportive of this as well, that we know that we're doing the right thing. And we've got the research to back it up. We know that by providing these healthier foods to kids, it's going to help them learn better, and it's going to, you know, eventually help them on down the road in terms of their overall health. And so we looked at not just bringing healthier foods to the kids in our districts, but also looking at how we can get them moving more too. So it's kind of a whole big picture program that we've built in both Cheney and Othello. For some of our families, we found from lower income families, they were used to having a plate that had a protein, maybe a vegetable, and a carbohydrate. You know, everything was separated. And so we were serving some casseroles. And we had some of our teachers coming to us and saying, that casserole, it scared them. They had no idea what it was. And so we realized that, you know, it was something as simple as that, where that was then our job to, we put links on our online menus on our websites, where I just built these basic descriptions of what a ravioli was. And we took a picture of the ravioli. And then we did kind of a big campaign where we went out and let parents know that, you know, on Sunday night, maybe you want to click on the menu and take a look at what is going to be served that week in your school, so you can click on ravioli and realize that it's this little, you know, pillow of yummy goodness or whatever, topped in a freshly made marinara sauce. So I mean, we just did very basic education about some of the foods that we were eating. When we eliminated the flavored milks, we got a ton of pushback about that. And, you know, so we launched a milk campaign. And it was just as simple as, you know, letting kids know that, gosh, guys, this is how much sugar you're getting when you're drinking flavored milk. And Brian mentioned, you know, we're still, he and I just a couple weeks ago, we're in a high school nutrition class and sat there and talked with them about some of the things that high school kids, you know, are consuming regularly, whether it's fast food or Monster energy drinks or vitamin water. And we talked about marketing and how, you know, marketing tells you one thing, but you really need to learn the label. And so it's just been a lot of grassroots marketing, a lot of face-to-face communication that we're doing with our kids and our staff, and then also with our families. So we have hosted a variety of different family nights where, you know, in the past maybe a family night of some sort might feature pizza. And now we offer them the opportunity to offer a home-cooked meal that they can actually taste and see and smell exactly what their kids are eating during the day. So maybe they'll get that home-baked lasagna with the Caesar salad and a freshly baked breadstick. And then that, you know, helps kind of build some pride in the school, helps build some pride in what we're trying to do, and certainly some buy-in. But yeah, I mean, it really just goes down to, you can't make this work. And I think unless you educate the folks about why this is important, to make sure that our kids are eating healthy, and really just breaking it down into the most basic, you know, concepts for a lot of the kids. We do a ton of taste tests as well. I think by the end of the school year, we'll have done 6 or 7 taste tests throughout the school year, and those are really fun, and we give the kids a chance to vote on the food that they like best, and you know, if something gets rave reviews, then they'll likely see it on the next salad bar, and that's kind of our next big step. I mean, I don't feel like we've taken it to the level where it needs to be, where we are allowing the kids themselves to feel like they have as much buy-in as we probably need to. And so that's something that Brian and I have been talking a lot about, is ways that we can allow the kids to name some of the entree items, and you know, just help them to feel some ownership and some pride in what they're doing. But you know, something like this, I think at the end of the day, it's so worth it. It's a heck of a lot of work, but you know, we can look at ourselves and just full pride in what it is that we've accomplished so far, and we've got a long way to go, but we're excited to get there. So, and then Renee here, I also have the opportunity to work with Renee too in District 81 in Spokane. They are pretty unique setup in what they're doing, and we're doing some different education stuff with them as well, but I'll let her share with you what they're doing.
I'm sorry, I'm just going to tell this one quick story. It was really funny. It made me laugh. That's why I was up here laughing myself. We were talking to high school kids, and we go through this whole story about how sugar is refined, and they use like charred animal bones to refine sugar, and just how nasty it is, and it depletes your bones of nutrients and all this stuff. And then we go through this deal where we do tablespoons of sugar, and how much is in a Mountain Dew, and then how much is in a Rock Star, and then how much is in this one. And we get done, and this kid comes over and goes, "Can I have that Mountain Dew? Man, get out of here."
And you win some, you lose some. I mean, you're going to get them all,
Can I have the Mountain Dew?
Well, I kind of feel really lucky because I think we learned in District 81 when we piloted this from Brian's school district. And I was actually, our administration at our school was behind this before I was even hired. I was already working for Spokane Public Schools in elementary school for almost 17 years. So then they decided to do, they had a community garden, and they wanted this garden to be able to be used in the cafeteria. So with that being said, with all the backing of the principal, the vice principals, the staff, and the students, they then suck out to see how we can use this produce in our school lunches. So they approached Doug Wardell, which is the food service director of Spokane Public Schools, and within, I'm going to say, probably 4 weeks, they had a job description, a job posting, and hired me on the last day of school last year to move to the community school. It was very, very quick, and they were very passionate about it. So I go into my new school, never worked in a high school before, looking at all these kids. I'm used to the little kids. But what we started doing is I started resetting up my kitchen to make it a more inviting environment, so the students could see me wherever I was in the kitchen. The door was always open. All the cafeteria doors into the cafeteria was open because I wanted the kids to, come in, and they would come and talk to me, introduce themselves. And then we went and we redecorated our cafeteria. And it's no longer our cafeteria, it's the cafe. Total student input the whole way. We had several meetings. We redesigned. We are putting a student mural on one big wall that they're working on, which will take almost a whole year. I don't even know if they'll finish it this year. It may be an ongoing project. We have round tables like this that seat 6 people with tablecloths. Our horticulture department puts centerpieces on the table. No kids mess with them. They just leave them. They look nice. We use a 9-inch regular plate. We do not use boats. We do not use souffle cups. We use some sporks to go. We use regular silverware. And the kids come through and they sit down, and when you see the kids sit down and eat, they're like you guys, like a family, sitting at a table, eating lunch together. And when you see their plates, it's really neat to see that when you take that My Plate picture of USDA and you place it on my line and you watch the kids come by with their fruits and vegetables and their salad off the salad bar, it looks like that, and that's what we want. And LJ came to my school one day, and it's pretty impressive. Also, I think the biggest thing is having the adult input. Before I came there were very few adults that ate in my building. Now, you on a daily basis can see a minimum of 6 to 7 to up to 13 adults getting their plate. Some of them will go sit in the cafeteria and eat with students. Some of them will go in the staff lounge. Our principal comes down and eats every day with our kids. She goes through the salad bar and usually gets the chef salad or gets the main entree, whatever it is. And they sit down and the kids have really enjoyed it. I never thought I would hear a high schooler come to me and say, "Can I have 2 apples?" Yeah, you can have 2 apples. I'm sure that there's a kid that didn't take an apple, but if some kid wants a fruit or a vegetable, I'm not going to turn them down because that's what we want our kids to be eating, is the fruit and vegetables. And our scratch model, yesterday I was talking to 2 girls and somebody came in and wanted salt, and I said, "Hey, you guys know I don't give you guys salt. I don't have salt here." And the 2 girls sitting there, they go, "You don't use salt and the food still tastes good?" I'm like, yes, the food still tastes good without salt. So these kids do not know, their palates have been so traumatized by sodium and preserved foods. And when we take the salt out and use vegetables and seasonings and fresh herbs, they really can tell the difference, and the salt doesn't make a difference. I feel very lucky for where we're going. I am with District 81, and we're a pretty big district, so it makes it a little bit more difficult to go to the bigger schools, but it's something that we are working on, and we will get there. I too took chocolate milk away, and I still have all 4 tires, and my car has not been keyed, and I'm feeling very thankful. And I took French fries off the menu, so I kind of did a double dose. And only because of the content of the French fries, and I thought I wanted more whole food. So we do oven roasted potatoes, and we do JoJo's. And actually I use my sectionizer and do the JoJo potatoes, and then they get 3 potatoes, and they love it. They're just like, "Can you make those again? Can you make those again?" So they're very open, and I always take suggestions. They'll come in and tell me, "Hey, the marinara sauce was missing something," or "You need a little bit more of this." I made a potato salad with leftover JoJo's, and one kid, who is obviously not a fruit and vegetable kid, comes and says, "Next time, can you not make the potato salad so fancy?" And I'm like, "What do you mean, so fancy?" I said, "You don't want all the vegetables and onions and stuff in it?" He goes, "Yeah, I kind of want it like the store stuff." I'm like, "Oh, you want processed potato salad, that's what you want." And I said, "No, I won't do that here, but maybe next time you'll try it and taste it and like it." So there are those kids that are going to do that, and you just, for one of those, you usually have 30 of the other ones that are really liking it. So really getting your staff to know, and even if it's not a whole district and it's a school at a time, really working with your staff at your building from the top down and getting them on board before you throw the kids in there, because the kids will cause enough havoc. But if you have all the staff behind you and your administration behind you, it's very doable. And when my principal comes and serves lunch every once in a while, the kids actually get mad at her because she will make them go back to the fruit and vegetable bar and put more stuff on their plate. So, and I just laugh. So I try to get her to come down there once a month because the kids need to see that, and they go back and get more. So, so really working with your staff to make it work. And once they understand what you're cooking and how healthy it is, they'll start eating lunch at your school. Because my staff are so excited because they save 15 minutes every morning because they don't have to make their lunch. So, and if you guys have any questions, I'll be here all afternoon. So I think that's all.
LJ, Brian, Laura, Renee, you guys are awesome. Can we have a round of applause for you? Thanks for being here today. Yes, let's take some questions.
Yeah. It's just a great story. I'm just really jazzed about it. I'm wondering how, I know that Empire is very interested in looking at health metrics. Can you tell a little bit more about how you're monitoring that, or what parameters you're using to measure wellness, I guess?
Yeah, sure. So what we've done is every fall and spring, we're basically looking at BMI. And so it kind of varies. In Cheney School District, we have about 4,000 kids, and so for us to be able to track all 4,000 just wasn't feasible. So we started last year with 1st, 5th, 7th, and 9th graders. Every fall and spring, just tracking that same cohort of kids, their height and weight to see if there's a difference. And then this spring, we're actually partnering with Washington State University. My feeling is, BMI is just one factor in an overall health picture of a child, because you can certainly have someone who is very fit, in wonderful health shape, but maybe their BMI, because of, they've got extra muscle or something, might make it look just the opposite. And so we're partnering with Wazoo, and just in the next couple of weeks, they're going to start going into our schools and kind of start a second division of this study for 4th through 8th graders in our district. Well, they'll look at everything from, they'll continue to do the BMI, but they'll look at blood pressure, resting heart rate. They're going to do some oral surveys of kids in terms of asking how much TV do you watch, how much sleep do you get, what I think they call them food frequency or food interviews. So they'll ask them, what did you eat in the last 24 hours? How many vegetables do you normally eat? Just to get an overall picture of what these kids look like. And then we'll also pull in a lot of the fitness gram scores that our schools already monitor with all students anyway, figuring out their pacer scores and how many push-ups they can do and sit-ups and whatnot. And so the plan is with that to continue monitoring those same kids over the next several years and see, as we've got all these various interventions going on in the schools, and we're doing it also at the community school as well. But with all the healthy foods that we're serving them, and then the various other physical activity and nutrition interventions that we have introduced, we want to see if they're actually having an impact. So we hope that maybe in 5 years we will be able to point to those scores and see some difference and know that the work that we're doing is having a positive impact on their health.
I don't know if I need a microphone, but it's not kind of loud. I have 2 questions. Number one, a lot of our high school students who are student athletes feel that although the fruit and vegetables are a great idea and they have no problem taking them, having one slice of pizza and then all the fruit and vegetables by time they go to their after school activity of sporting practice or whatever, that they're starving. So we're missing a group of kids that are, my son being an athlete, they have lunch at their school at 10:30 in the morning, and they don't get out of school until 3 o'clock, which puts them not starting practice till 3:30. So by the time he gets home at 6 o'clock, he could literally eat my entire kitchen. And of course we provide him a good dinner, but there's that window of kids that they like the fruit and vegetables, they're just not getting enough to eat at lunch. Does anyone else have that issue at their school with kids?
We do too, and I can just tell you, as I have a teenage son myself who plays 3 sports, and yeah, he would eat me if I didn't feed him constantly, probably. But so it's certainly, that's the case for us, and we hear that in our schools as well. And what we tell them is, I think it is such a culture change though, because these kids are used to eating the real filling tater tots and fatty foods that make them feel fuller. And so that kind of goes into the whole education thing, where at least I'll let LJ address this on a more holistic standpoint, but for me as a mom, what I'm telling my son is he eats the school lunch. I make sure that he's getting enough of the fruits and vegetables and the entree that's served. And then I know that he needs extra, so I usually, serve him, bring him more food to eat at school, because that's what his body requires.
Well, as nutrition educators we know that, so we provide that for our kids. But a lot of the athletes, they don't have that, so they don't have the extra snacks, in their bag.
Too early too.
Yeah. Right.
The principal needs to know that 10:30 is not an appropriate
lunch. Exactly. My second question is staffing. So we run into a lot of labor management where staff feels overworked. It's not in their job description. Now that we're altering their job description, if we're asking them to do beyond the spectrum of preparing their food, which we see differently. We're asking you to make one homemade item a month, but then they want extra staffing. They want us to bring a sub in for them that day. And they've kind of gotten out of the way of, well, it's not in our job description. So we run into a lot of, I mean, my director sits in a lot of labor management meetings once a month discussing the fact that they feel that that's not.
What's their title?
Cook.
Okay, well.
Right,
That's
exactly.
what I told them. When they started complaining to me, I said, what is your title? Cook.
Okay.
I said, okay, well, that's awesome. You're going to start cooking instead of warming.
Exactly.
So,
Okay.
We were able to provide a training, comprehensive training this summer for all of our kitchen staff. In Cheney, Spokane School District attended, Othello was there. We had multiple districts from around the Eastern Washington region who attended this. It was a Cook for America training. So I encourage any of you, Google Cook for America. Phenomenal organization. More than willing to come in, and it's pretty pricey. I will tell you that, but so it'd be neat if districts, neighboring districts could maybe partner to bring these folks in. But really what they do, in addition to providing just skill set training, they empower. They're all about empowering the chefs. So you walk in on day one and you're not a kitchen worker anymore. You are a chef. And you wear the chef coat. You've got the chef hat. And it's pretty powerful. We had staff from our district coming up to our superintendent and other people in tears saying, thank you. You've changed my life. You know, this completely gives me a different mindset. And it's really just teaching these folks that, you know, what they're taught is that we've got history teachers, we have math teachers, English teachers, on and on and on. You're our nutrition teachers. And this is an opportunity for you to feel empowered to, you know, you're servicing, providing this wonderful food, and now you can teach the kids about why it's important to eat healthy.
What they've had put in their heads, have you guys seen the Adam Sandler Lunch Lady Land? It's an awesome video. But, and my brother thinks he's funny, and he'll post it on my Facebook page sometimes, and then he'll tag it to the head lunch lady. Anyway, so what they've had in their heads for some of them 20, 25, 30, you know, 15 to 30 years is you're just a lunch lady. That's all you are. Put the slop on a plate, give it to the kids. That's what they've been told by, you know, kids, teachers, principals, whomever. So it's really about rewiring the way they think about themselves and the way they think about and giving them, instilling a sense of pride into them. And once you do that, I think they surprise themselves at what can be accomplished. You're lucky because you have a culinary degree and you're trained that way. And I have one of my kitchen managers that has a culinary degree, and for her, she was like, oh, whatever, this is easy. But for the rest of them, it was really learning an entirely different skill. And once they learned that and they had that confidence, they went into it saying, we can do this, and we know it's the right thing to do, and we have the skills to do that. I still ran into some bumps. I mean, I'm still a manager. I still have to manage people, and it wasn't just, you know, food doesn't get made with rainbows and ice cream and puppy hogs. I mean, there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears through this process, and a lot of them worked really, really hard. And I had to go in and stroke a lot of egos and pat a lot of backs and do a lot of thank yous. And I lost some people. I had 5 or 6 cooks who said, I got 2 years to retirement. I'm not doing this, and they were retired early, and it just happens. I don't know if you lost anybody in it though. I lost 3 or 4, but it is what it is. Most of them step up to the plate, and you give a little bit, and you get a little bit, and you eventually come to a common ground where everybody is on the same level. You know, but at the end of the day, you're a manager and you have employees, and you're going to piss them off sometimes. And then I send in the fixer.
I think we might have time for just one more question or comment, and we've got a couple hands up. So, yes.
I just would like to encourage those of you. Actually, I was the only one that was able to go to Cooks for America. My staff didn't. So we were like Brian. We went right over the dock and did everything right off the bat. I would like to encourage you. The best thing that you can do right now is start educating your staff. You know, if you can put in flyers, send home with them why possibly they don't want to put as much salt in their food, why an additive isn't good for the children or good for them? And what can you bring them in as a staff meeting? How could we possibly make these changes in our school district? That's what I'm actually doing now, because we did go into it head first. It was something I had already been looking into, and a lot of it is they were cooking and they didn't know why they were doing what they were doing. Well, who cares if there's additives and stuff? So if you can just educate your staff and then make it kind of their idea of how can we change, baby steps are great. So all you do is cut sodium down in your school this year. That's great. So just from experience.
And you guys go to the websites that they showed with the different school districts and just take a look at the plates and compare it to, take some pictures of your plates, what you're serving now, and just lay them out and look at the difference. The one thing when I see kids go through the line and I see a plate that resembles the USDA My Plate, it excites me. I get very, very, very excited because the government told me that this is what they expect, and I just got it across to high school students. So really take a look at those websites and go to the schools that are already participating in doing scratch cooking because it'll give you a great insight as what direction you're headed in.
And I just want to add, the person with Cook for America is Kate Adamek.
Yep.
And she was our keynote speaker at last year's Fresh Food in School Summit. So there's some stuff up on our website. But I'm hoping we can track the efforts that are going on somehow. You guys will let us know how we can track you. Thanks.
Thanks.